which translates into 9 out of every 10 Ghanaians. The 2024 Democracy Report by Afrobarometer reveals that and Bawumia government is headed in the wrong direction. The report indicates a sad descent in Ghanaians laurels we once enjoyed, from a high of 74% in 2011-2013 when the NDC was in power to 51% in 2021-2023. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I enlist major areas of concern under the current government. 1. Size of government. The Akufo-Addo regime has had the largest number of government appointees in Ghana's history. Outrageous number of 125 ministers and deputy ministers and 36 ministries, as compared to 83 ministers and 23 ministries as at 2016. The NPP remains intransigent despite calls to downsize the government in the face of economic hardship. The total budget of the Office of the President in 2016, President John Dramani Mahama, at the time of leaving office, around 718 million Ghana cedis. And this compares with President Akufo-Addo in 2024. Manifesting Ghana's lack of progress in combating corruption. Meanwhile, the 2023 Afrobarometer report establishes the asset declaration regime failed to address the disturbing scale of corruption. 3. State institutions. The NPP administration has undermined the authority of state institutions. The 2018 removal of the EC chairperson, Mrs. Charlotte Osei, and the replacement of the entire Electoral Commission, mostly with known NPP members, and have created deep mistrust for the Electoral Commission. So, unlawful dismissal of the Auditor General Daniel Yaudomelovu, the appointment of known NPP activists as judges further illustrates this trend all through their period of governance. Meanwhile, public and civil service positions have been usurped by incompetent political operatives and party foot soldiers. The Afrobarometer Survey 2024 reveals that the trust in the judiciary and the Electoral Commission is at an all-time low. From 54% in 2014, it has dropped to 36% in 2022 for the judiciary. And from 59% in 2014, it has dropped to 33% in 2022. On a scale and severity that is at variance with the reputation of democracy in Africa. Journalists have been arrested, detained, and brutalized by state agencies like the security operatives. I did not add that some have needlessly lost their lives in bizarre circumstances. The NPP government, in a anachronistic fashion, crudely shut down radio stations that did not support them and set up ones that would ignore their misdeeds. Of course, they fail to appreciate that the media can make what is good look better, but not what is bad look good. This repressive trend has seen Ghana decline in the global press freedom ranking by Reporters Without Borders from the 26th position to the
What
among others. Unfortunately, for nearly 8 years, we have witnessed a virtual decline in all the above, and also a brazen abdication of moral leadership coupled with careless arrogance. Is the worst on all fronts. The scorecard after 8 years has been one of cluelessness, recklessness, gross incompetence, and abysmal performance in managing this economy. Forward to a better Ghana is not unsurmountable. This is what the incoming President, John Dramani Mahama, seeks to reset post January 7, 2025. In President Mahama, we have a leader inspired by love for country, a transformational leader, a man who has had, like no one else, a deep reflection and introspection, and the only man who has the capacity to reset Ghana for good governance and accountability. We salute you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Sylvester Mensah, for that situational report, a very gloomy situational report. Thankfully, we have a man who has done it before, and he will do it again. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nuong Falong. We are moving to the next stage of this event. The key speaker for tonight's event will be introduced by Comrade Afi Agbenyo.
All protocols respectfully recognized, duly acknowledged. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for honoring the invitation and being here. There is no denying the fact that our democratic gains are being eroded. Our democracy in its current state is not delivering decent living conditions for us, the people of Ghana. We continue to see citizens' rights being trampled upon and Democratic Congress to discuss superior alternative policies for good governance. And I am privileged to introduce the keynote host of today's event. The keynote speaker and host that I am privileged to inform you that he's a man whose heart is in the right place. In my experience, I can say that he has a proven track record of governance that respects the people, respects the mandate of the people. He has a proven track record of governance that cares for the people and is willing to deliver prosperity for all Ghanaians. Our keynote speaker is a man who has proven and placed himself boldly to be investigated. After thorough investigation, he was declared unimpeachable with unimpeachable integrity. And this is what the OSP himself said about him. He's a man who has opened his heart to us Ghanaians, willing ever to be held to the highest standards of leadership and accountability. He faces head-on challenges. A case in point will be when there were power outages and how he resolved these power outages. And I am privileged to say that he has a renewed commitment to the Ghana project, a commitment that is willing to reset Ghana on the path of good governance, a thriving democracy that delivers decent living conditions to the people of Ghana, jobs to the youth, and puts us on a path of restoring our good name in the continent as the Ghana that we all know that people point fingers at in a good way and want to learn from our democracy. I stand here in full conviction, absolute faith, I should say, to introduce to you the next President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Kindly. Let me distinguished ladies and gentlemen for accepting to join me for this governance forum, especially as we had to schedule it for the evening because of numerous. I just returned from the northern region last night, and earlier this morning I had to chair a meeting of the board of the town.
Yeah.
failure of this administration, the freedoms and rights, and throwing of our citizens into remand custody and depriving them of food and medical care. This is a government that lacks integrity, transparency, and accountability. Accountability for the hardships they have inflicted on our society. They still believe and insist that they are not responsible for the damage to the economy. They maintain that we cannot hold them accountable for skyrocketing the national debt from 120 billion to 7 billion Ghana cedis in 2024 with very little to show for it. They just will not accept that compelling the central government 70 billion Ghana cedis to about 54%. And led to the Bank of Ghana posting a loss of over 60 billion Ghana cedis. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe firmly that the main reason for democratic governance is to improve the living condition of all our citizens, including the most vulnerable, like persons living with disabilities, our retirees and pensioners, and young people who are out of school and need jobs, in a tangible, sustainable, and equitable manner. Democracy must be meaningful to citizens. Democracy must deliver justice to the people. In a democracy, citizens must be free to criticize the government without hearing a knock on their doors at night from partisan operatives. In a true democracy, citizens, including I believe we can do that. No barriers erected by
Save Ghana. 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 Save Ghana.
Ghana must work more efficiently.
John Dramani. 24 hours.
One of our tools to combat corruption and make it a high-risk endeavor for any person. Operation Recover All the Loots will investigate, prosecute the proceeds of corruption using both local and foreign investigative expertise to achieve this objective. Closely linked to oral will be legislation to prohibit political appointees, political exposed persons, and all serving public officials from purchasing state assets. We shall address the detrimental phenomenon of state capture by establishing a state assets registry. As I have assured the chiefs of the Ghana state, we will open an inquiry into the sale of stolen government lands and the implementation of the Accra redevelopment policy. And let me assure you, the investigation into the looting of government lands will not be restricted to Accra alone. We are aware of the developments that have taken place in Kumasi, Ho, and Tamale, and we will extend the oral into all the 16 regions. And I commit to rigorously implement the recommendations of this inquiry. To ensure value for money and transparency in the award of contracts, we will set up an independent value for money office, which will be responsible for scrutinizing any government procurement that is above $5 million or as Parliament may determine. Parliament may determine a lower figure that is left with Parliament to decide. But every contract or procurement that is above a certain figure will be subject to independent value for money audit. The Public Procurement Act of 2003, Act 663 as amended, will further be amended to make single-sourced and restricted tendering an exception rather than the norm. Working with the judiciary, special courts will be established to prosecute and sanction persons in whom adverse findings are made by the Auditor General's report and by Parliament. We strongly support the powers funds with our commitment is to review and enforce the assets declaration regime to promote transparency and combat corruption. And in this regard, I will require all members of my administration to declare their assets within 30 days of assuming office. Ladies and gentlemen, the recent report from the Afrobarometer survey in Ghana reveals depressing reports about our institutions. The Ghanaian public has lost trust in many of these institutions. Collectively, we must do more to rebuild that trust. Our administration will review the codes of conduct for public office holders to promote ethical leadership, professionalism, and efficiency. We must make the public sector work for the people by being responsive to their needs, and we must demonstrate humility, modesty, and sacrifice in office. We will also pass and implement the revised Internal Audit Agencies Bill to address malfeasance in public agencies. For almost 8 years, the government has deliberately and systematically worked to weaken and undermine the independence of the judiciary, the Electoral Commission, and the Audit Service for their own parochial purposes. Our human rights record, including press freedom, has suffered just as the fight against corruption has. Journalists have been hounded and cowed into silence and self-censorship. But I can assure you that there is hope. The NDC under my leadership is ready and willing to work with Ghanaians and our key stakeholders in civil society, our traditional leaders, our development partners, to restore good governance into our beloved country. And as I've said many times already, I'll drastically reduce the size of government in order to reduce expenditure by appointing not more than 60 ministers of state. Indeed, we started working on this by realigning and merging ministries, departments, and agencies. And we will appoint highly efficient, effective, and smart appointees to eliminate duplication and waste. We will scrap the payment of ex gratia. We will scrap the payment of ex gratia. The disparities between Article 71 office holders and the wider public service will be fixed by establishing the long overdue Independent Emoluments Commission. And this will happen by merging the functions of the Presidential Commission on Emoluments with the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. In addition, we will continue and complete the Constitution review process that was started by our late President, Professor John Evans Atta Mills of blessed memory. I believe independent constitutional bodies must be strengthened rather than weakened, and I'm referring to the National Media Commission, the National Commission for Civil Education, the Electoral Commission, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and the Audit Service. On justice delivery, resetting Ghana to work in a 24-hour economy that will create jobs also means that justice must not only be served, but must be seen to be served. The next NDC government will support the judiciary to enhance access to justice and restore confidence in that important constitutional organ of state. Ladies and gentlemen, prisoners are human and must be treated fairly. We will do this by establishing courts within the precincts of prisons, just as has been done within the precincts of the Nsawan Medium Security Prison. We would ensure better care for our prisoners by expanding the prisons and providing separate blocks for remand prisoners so that they are not joined up with convicted prisoners. We will ensure improvement in their feeding and their medical care. While improving the Alternative Dispute Resolution Act 2010, Act 798 to deliver justice, we will conduct a comprehensive review of legal education in order to expand access to legal education in Ghana. We need more lawyers, not fewer lawyers, to serve our national development goals in restoring our democratic institutions. Among others, we shall expand the child-friendly court program to all regional capitals to include child-sensitive training for judges, court staff, and DOFSU staff, and modernize our juvenile correction centers to foster effective rehabilitation and reintegration of young offenders back into society. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm determined to provide adequate safety and security for all Ghanaians in order that our 24-hour economy initiative will thrive. To the Ghana Armed Forces, the Ghana Police Service, the Ghana Prison Service, the Ghana Immigration Service, the Ghana National Fire Service, the National Intelligence Agencies, the Narcotic Control Commission, the Ghana Customs Service, National Disaster Management Organization, National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons, and others, keep in mind that I, John Dramani Mahama, appreciate the immense sacrifices and service you render to our dear Republic, sometimes even at the peril of your own lives. I know that we have dedicated professionals and patriotic serving officers and men and women in our security agencies who are appalled by the needless politicization this government has injected into the security services. To all these professional and decent-minded security men and women who yearn for the restoration of the glory days of our security services under a government that will motivate and not intimidate personnel, you can be assured that ours will be a government that ensures that promotions are based on merit, and we will correct the injustice in promotions across all the security services. Be assured that the glory days of our security services and the government that will not infuse the services with unqualified personnel just because of political connections is coming. On Monday, 2nd December, the special voting day will come on, and I urge you to vote for John Mahama as president and vote for your NDC parliamentary candidates. I am confident that a special voting day will herald the tone for our resounding victory in this year's elections. Because the category of voters participating in the special voting, just like millions of Ghanaians, feel the hardship that has been imposed by the reckless mismanagement of this economy. And just like millions of Ghanaians, you all feel the hardship imposed by the economy. We all go to the same market. Media personnel feel the same hostile atmosphere within which they ply their noble trade. The staff of the Electoral Commission also feel and are appalled by the systematic decay of their once cherished commission that has suffered under this administration. Ladies and gentlemen, to ensure the security and safety of all citizens and businesses, the next NDC government will further review the compensation package for personnel who lose their lives or get injured in the line of duty. We will establish new military installations focusing on our border areas and especially our 6 new regions to prevent terrorist attacks and ensure rapid response, implement cybersecurity measures to protect government systems, critical infrastructure, people and businesses, and harmonize and address disparities in salaries, remuneration, and other conditions of service related to personnel in the security agencies. There are huge shortfalls in both residential and office accommodation across all the security services. These we will aggressively tackle from our first day in office. We will enhance medical packages for serving and retired personnel and their families. We will ensure continuous review of UN operational allowances. We will review the appointments of the heads of security agencies and parliamentary oversight over security and intelligence agencies, and actively engage the services of private security organizations who adhere to decent work and provide fair wages for their employees. I therefore wish to use this opportunity to urge our men and women in uniform to remember to abide by their oaths of office, to protect and defend our Constitution before, during, and after this general election. Finally, on security, I call for calm to prevail in Boko. I appeal to all sides to exercise restraint and silence the weapons. Resolving the Boko conflict will be one of my first priorities when I become president. The need to champion sustainable development stares us in the face as our water bodies stand more polluted than we have ever witnessed in our country's history. While pursuing green technologies, our administration will promote sustainable and responsible mining. As I've said before, no member of my government will be allowed to engage in mining. I repeat, my appointees will be prohibited from engaging in mining to prevent conflict of interest. And as I've said, any appointee who wants to be a miner can go and be a miner. But you can't be a miner and serve in our government. And please rest assured that every government appointee and party official who flouts the mining laws will be swiftly dealt with. Irresponsible and illegal mining, galamsey, would be fought strenuously using regulation. And mining in forest reserves will not be allowed, because our water bodies take their source from these forest reserves. If we destroy these forest reserves, it will lead to a destruction of our water bodies. Small-scale mining is legal and will continue to be the preserve of Ghanaian nationals. As we undertake inventory and audit of all licensed small-scale mining concessions to build capacity and hold the owners of concessions accountable for illegal mining on their concessions. To this end, we'll engage the large mining companies to seed and release part of their unused concessions, abandoned shafts, pits, or areas for licensed small-scale miners to also earn a living. Land reclamation and our Tree for Life program and our Blue Water initiatives will be key planks of our determination to protect our environment while encouraging sustainable mining for national development. And this is where graduates from UMAT and UNER, that is the the University of Mining and Technology, the University of Natural and Energy Resources, and other institutions come in. We shall employ them to support and provide expertise to the mining industry. This support would include setting up environmental and regulatory outfits like the Environmental Protection Agency and the Minerals Commission in all mining districts of Ghana. And coming to local governance, the next NDC government will implement true decentralization and reverse the current centralization of our local government system under this government. To provide policy coherence and ministerial oversight, the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development will be responsible for sanitation. In other words, the Ministry of Sanitation will be abolished. In the time when we have had a Ministry of Sanitation, our society is even dirtier than it was before. We shall reintroduce the National Sanitation Days, and we shall institute the Cleanest City Award Scheme. This award scheme will inject a competitive spirit among our MMDAs, and rewards will be given to the cleanest of the MMDAs. We will promote waste-to-energy projects and ensure that we have recycling capacity for plastics and other garbage in our districts and municipalities. To provide adequate funding for local governance, we will abolish the centralized collection of property rates and assist the local government institutions to be able to collect these property rates in order to stimulate local economic growth and diversification for job creation by providing incentives for local level investments and processing, Ashaiman, Techiman, Kofori, Hohoi, and Wa in and will also upgrade other eligible districts from district assemblies to municipal assemblies. Ladies and gentlemen, assembly members will be paid monthly stipends. I can see there are some assembly members. Assembly members will be paid monthly stipends, and this we will use to motivate them to monitor the implementation of government projects and programs within their electoral areas. We're also going to utilize them to collect birth and death statistics in real time in order that we can strengthen our birth and death registry. We will increase the representation of traditional authorities in the decentralized structures, and we would work with them to make sure that their authority is utilized. It is worrying that government has ignored the cries of the chiefs and people in the flood-affected areas of the Volta River and the Volta Lake, and has refused till now to offer adequate compensation to them for the destruction that was caused by the spillage. As already promised, an NDC government will right these wrongs. I wish to assure our journalists and media practitioners that we are returning to an era of true media freedom under my presidency. In this new era of media freedom, journalists will not remain in constant fear over state-sponsored attacks on them. Radio stations critical of government are not going to be attacked Rambo style. Journalists will not remain in fear of being attacked to the point that some have to run away and seek asylum in other countries. To promote and guarantee media freedom, expand the frontiers of press freedom, and create a conducive work environment for media practitioners, we will fully implement and operationalize the Right to Information Act, Act 2019, Act 989. We'll reopen the investigation into the murder of Ahmed Hussein Swali and ensure prompt action on all cases involving violation of the rights and freedoms of media professionals. We'll support the Ghana Journalists Association, the National Media Commission, and other stakeholders to promote an enduring professional media environment and improve continuous professional development for media practitioners. And I can tell you, the President of the Ghana Journalists Association is sitting next to me and he has made a critical statement about me projects. We're not going to privatize state-owned media, not under our watch. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time under the Fourth Republic, Ghana suffered the shame of debt defaults. Our citizens, including pensioners, had their bonds withheld and had very severe haircuts. Even though our external partners have suffered a variant of this crude haircut, the government I will lead from 7th January 2025 is expected to begin paying for the sins of this government's debt default. This means that Ghana's international relations must be stepped up to restore our global influence and enhance our role in international affairs, as well as ensure maximum benefits for national development and position ourselves as the favored destination for foreign direct investment in West Africa. Fortunately, unlike my opponent, I'm not a stranger to international relations. I was chair of ECOWAS during periods of crisis, during the Burkina crisis, during the crisis in Gambia, and I was chair of ECOWAS during the crisis of the Ebola pandemic. I will use this experience to hit the ground running. And pursue a comprehensive foreign policy that articulates our enlightened national interests and reaffirms our commitment to regional integration, peace, and security, and that appreciates contemporary geopolitical realities and prefers strategic engagements for a sustainable world, peace, security, and development. We will intensify economic diplomacy that translates Ghana to a vibrant export trade and foreign investment, and we will appoint trade attaches to specifically designated Ghanaian diplomatic missions to aggressively market Ghana's economic competitiveness. Ghana's hosting of the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat must be leveraged to reset and accelerate our socio-economic growth and pivot Ghana as Africa's transport and investment hub. This includes Ghana becoming a pharmaceutical manufacturing hub. To foster good neighborliness, I'll reinforce cordial and mutual supportive relations with our immediate neighbors. And I engage in strategic initiatives to facilitate the reintegration of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger back into the ECOWAS. And I will not snitch on our neighbors to any foreign power. I will not snitch on our neighbors to any foreign power. Ladies and gentlemen, to reaffirm our collective commitment to the principles of sub-regional integration and to emphasize Ghana's steadfast commitment to the African Union, we shall pursue this aggressively. Ghanaian nationals abroad should be assured of enhanced consular service with proactive programs that will promote and protect their welfare and rights. And these rights will be inclusive of their participation in our political and socio-economic development. Ladies and gentlemen, we will not countenance a project that we understand is to outsource our electronic visa issuance to an opaque private entity at the expense of our national interest. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening I have shared with you some of the concrete governance proposals that we seek to implement when giving the nod in this year's general elections. I've reiterated that Ghana is at a crossroads because injustice is eating away at our society, with our economy inflicting untold hardships on millions of our fellow citizens. I've also reaffirmed my determination to ruthlessly root out the canker of corruption. and refresh your memories on a few of the uncountable corruption scandals that this administration has tolerated without any sanctions. To reset Ghana for equitable opportunities and job creation and a 24-hour economy, we also need to restore public confidence and trust in our governance institutions, which are decaying under our very eyes. And not least among them are our courts. My determination to provide adequate safety and security for all Ghanaians under the 24-hour economy initiative remains unwavering. Let me assure you that we shall build a resilient relationship with citizens and our social partners, and will create room for unfiltered and uncensored encounters between me and my Vice President-to-be, Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. There will be unfiltered and uncensored encounters between us and moral and civil society. I trust that by working together with the media, our international development partners, civil society organizations, our traditional and religious leaders, and our labor unions, we shall together reset Ghana and begin to relive the dream of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And as Nkrumah said, I speak freedom. And taking inspiration from Osagyefo, this evening, I have spoken governance. Let us reset Ghana for good governance and accountability. And may God bless our dear nation Ghana and make it great and strong. Thank you very much. And may God bless all of us. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, surely you can be more generous with your applause. Indeed, the horror movie must come to an end. It's time to come together and say a resounding enough. Enough to corruption. Enough to hyperinflation. Enough to galamsey. We're going to take some questions. We're taking 6 questions tonight. 3 questions from each side and 1 question from each person. Please do not go beyond 1 question, so we will not have to spend too much time here. I would also love, I see you. We'll come to you shortly. I want to acknowledge the representative of the Chief Justice who's here with us, Madam Dorothy Kingsley Nina, representative of the Chief Justice. Chief Justice Dorothy Kingsley Nina, calm down. She's not hiding, I've seen her. I've seen her, she's looking very beautiful. Thank you so much, Madam, for being here. So we'll move into our 6 questions, please. Keep it brief, keep it short and simple. And His Excellency will take those questions and explain to the best of his ability. As I mentioned, we'll take 3 from each side. There's a gentleman whose hand has been up.
All right, good evening. Good evening. My name is Emmanuel Wilson Jr. I represent a civil society organization by name, Crusaders Against Corruption Ghana. Mr. President, I want to thank you for the presentation and to acknowledge the proposals made in wanting to fight corruption. There's one key thing I was expecting to hear, and I want to know if you will be able to speak a bit on it. In this Fourth Republic, whether we like it or not, one of the corruption issues affecting us has to do with nepotism. And statistically, it is proven that in this Fourth Republic, the most corrupt government we've had, as far as nepotism is concerned, is this current government. We want to find out specifically what structures are being put in place if you become the next president of Ghana in fighting nepotism. I'll give you the mic, don't worry. Mr. President, forgive me. When you become president, we want to know the structures you want to put in place in fighting nepotism, and also whether or not anti-corruption institutions and individuals like myself will be seen as friends or enemies of your government. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel Wilson. Thank you for your question on nepotism. Dr. Emmanuel Akwete is here. He has a question.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your brilliant speech, Mr. President, and the indication you've given to innovation. I want to look at local government and ask that, would the NDC in power cause the evaluation of the local government system that excluded political parties? If we date it from 1988 or 87 to now, it is about 36 years. And so it is time to look at its impact. The evidence is 75% of Ghanaians in the post-2020 survey said the local government system is not working. And how do we cure that? So we'll be happy to know what steps will be taken to make it the most vibrant. And finally, I just want to know if the 6 objectives or petitions, points the NDC made not to sign the peace pact, if it is decided that one of the brilliant points in that petition is that you would want to see the IGP, the Attorney General, the head of national security and others also sign the peace pact, albeit as witnesses, and ensure that justice is done for crimes committed during elections. Would that suffice to commit to the peace pact? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akwete. Madam Esther Ofe. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to congratulate Your Excellency on a wide-ranging and well-thought-out speech. Dr. Akwete has stolen my local government, so I'll ask something else. Your Excellency, as you mentioned the particular constitutional institutions for strengthening, I wanted to hear something about the National Development Planning Commission and how we can make it work and link it to the issue of a national long-term vision, which was a legacy that the NDC government left for this country. Various efforts have gone on since, but we want something that will grasp and drive all of us in a particular direction. Thank you, Your Excellency, sir.
Thank you so much.
Consistently of the Afro-Barometer. Honorable Sylvester Barometer Survey 10 report. At the heart of this Afrobarometer report is the issue of unemployment, which serves as the tip of the sphere affecting good governance. Mr. President, I would like to know, what precisely would you be doing to solve the issue of unemployment? That's the first thing. Given that we have a prevailing issue of debts, as you have rightly pointed out, and also, in your administration, what would be your pointed direction to consult health professional organizations especially to ensure that any appointment in critical positions, you will consult them to ensure that we have the right people, given that nepotism has trickled down in all aspects of the sector. And then, Mr. President, finally. One question, finally, please. Just to wrap up on the unemployment, we have health professionals in Ghana currently who in the last 5 years have never been employed in the government sector, which also includes pharmacists. And we know what health professionals did during COVID. What precisely would you be doing to remedy these issues? Thank you.
Thank you. Reginald Sechi Brown.
Thank you. Speaking from Labour, I want to know whether we'll be assured our constitution provides for equal work for equal pay. Whether the next NDC government will provide equal work for equal pay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll take one more question. From the left side of the room, please. The gentleman in the smoke.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I am Reverend Benson, the convener and spokesperson for Concerned Pastors Against Bad Governance, Ghana. Thank you. So this program, we are very much interested. Your Excellency, pastors are suffering. Our members are suffering. When they come, the offering now is 2 CD, 1 CD, 2 CD, 1 CD. They don't have jobs. Nothing is working. Please, I want to say that we, the Concerned Pastors Against Bad Governance, Ghana, we have assessed all the presidential candidates, and we can firmly conclude, absolutely, that Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, you are the one we can trust. You are the most experienced one. We know how well you can maneuver this country to get on better times again. So we are saying, we are with you and we are praying for you. God bless you, sir. God bless NDC.
Thank you. Pastors are worried. The offering is small. When you go to church, increase the offering. Please, that will be the last question. My sincere apologies. We cannot take any more.
Thank you, my dear sister. You introduced me as the Executive Secretary of Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. And for that matter, when His Excellency, the former President, and the presidential candidate for the 2024 election presented the gap for us, it is incumbent on me to ask questions concerning the trade sector. However, I also double a cap as the national chair for the People's National Convention, PNC.
Right.
Thank you. You didn't acknowledge that, so I just wanted to know. It's a small push, but it's a big push for me.
We
Your
apologize
Excellency,
for not adding it.
thank you for this wonderful presentation that you've allowed yourself for us to assess your governance policy when you are elected come December 7th. I sat through, but I didn't hear anything, even though your manifesto talk about some taxes that you will scrap when you become the next president. But with this, I'm interested to note that we from the trade sector has been asking which government will give us a fixed rate at the port, because it is not predictable for any trader today to know that I'm shipping my car or I'm shipping my 20-footer container or 40-footer container to Ghana. When the container get to Ghana, I know I'm paying 100,000 and clear from the port. You cannot predict. So unless you get here, then they are now using the dollarization. Yet we are using CD. We are spending CD. I can't fathom why we calculate the duty in dollarization, then convert at this prevailing rate, 16 point something or 17 cedis before you pay duty. Will you give us a fixed rate at the port, subject for maybe quarterly review, so that will help traders to be able to make projections when we are trading? Last but not the least, I wanted to ask a very important question, and I've told my leader, but I still want to push. You've made it a very good point that you will, within 30 days of your appointees, they will have to declare their asset. At this current dispensation of declaring an asset, putting it into an envelope and sending to the Auditor General, I quietly disagree. It happens as in Senegal, the young man, before he became the president, he had declared he had one house, he had 2 old cars, and what he has, so that Ghanaians know. So that after, pardon me, 2 wives, exactly. Thank you very much. So straight away, Ghanaians know what you have. Then immediately you leave office, we know what you have. As it stands now, people make overreach overnight and started getting properties that we do not know. I think if they declare, we should amend the law for it to be publicized, to give the Auditor General the power to publish, so the Ghanaians will know you came to office with this and you are living with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Your Excellency will now take your questions.
Thank you very much. Let me extend my warmest greetings to Justice Dorothy Kingsley Nyina, the representative of the CJ. I thank you very much for joining us this evening, and I hope that this interaction has been useful. Our intention is to work together with the judiciary to see how we can bolster trust and confidence in that institution, because it's too critical an institution to lose the people's trust. But let me start with the questions about nepotism. Nepotism is a situation in which somebody who has the discretion to make appointments makes those appointments from his own ethnic and familial circle. And so the current portrayal of nepotism in our governance is what is famously called family and friends government. And I do think that it's something that we must look at. When we have raised issues about family and friends under this current Akufo-Addo administration, the response we are met with is, is it the president's fault if he has many qualified people in his family? Who doesn't have many qualified people in his family? We all have many qualified people in our family, but it is ethically wrong to fill government with just people who you have a close relationship with. As I said, I was open to scrutiny when I was president. The only person linked by blood to me in my government was my current spokesman, Joyce Bawa Muktari. Aside from that, no blood relation of mine was a minister or a DC or any other such position in my government. And so it's something that we would adhere to. We think that the opportunities of this country should be open to everybody. We have 16 regions, and we must ensure, and the Constitution even enjoins us and says that in making public appointments, we shall take cognizance of regional and gender balance. It's right there in our Constitution. And so I do believe that it is the personal testament of the person who leads, that would avoid nepotism, because the Constitution gives the president those powers to make those appointments. And one would expect that in making those appointments, he will be fair and he will be balanced and he will open the opportunities for people to serve who are not within his immediate family circle. And so that will be my answer to that question. And then anti-corruption crusaders. Anti-corruption crusaders are going to be our partners because they play a very important role in rooting out corruption. We must not be defensive about the exposure of corruption. We must embrace and welcome the exposure of corruption. And the first step towards rooting out corruption is sunlight, transparency, shining the light into the dark recesses. And that is what we're going to do. We're not going to pursue only post-regime accountability, because that has been the nemesis of our governance. But we're going to follow post-regime accountability and regime accountability. Because I've said several times that if we are sanctioning people who are leaving government for things that they did that were wrong, we should be prepared to sanction people who do the same things in our own government. And so people who come to serve in the next administration should be prepared to be held accountable by the people of Ghana. And that's why I've said we'll give unfettered space for the anti-corruption institutions to do their work. And I've also said that I will know my level and not be a clearing agent. And so when they come and take you and they are going with you, the special prosecutor and all of them, don't count on me to come and protect and save you. I don't think that it's fair to say our local governance system has not worked, even though the survey might suggest that. I do believe that the district assembly concept has served us well. And I still believe, in NDC, we believe that a non-partisan local government system is still the best way to go. Indeed, that was the difference between us and our colleagues in the MPP, and that's why that particular amendment was dropped, because we had indicated that we're not going to support it. I think more than just partisan local government service is the issue of election of DCs. The majority of Ghanaians believe that DCs must be held accountable to the people by being elected. And our party has absolutely no aversion to DCs being elected. But we believe that the DCs must stand on their own reputation and on their own steam and be voted for. That is where we differ with our colleagues. And I indicated to the president in one of the statements I made that even though they had decided not to go ahead with the referendum on the participation of political parties in local government, I believe that he should still go ahead with the issue of election of DCs, but on a non-partisan basis, and we will support it. But it was decided to drop the whole issue completely. In the next government, like I said, we're going to look at the whole constitutional review process again. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to take the constitutional review proposals, including the white paper that was issued at the time, and we're going to hold a national validation conference where we'll bring all stakeholders together and we'll review the proposals that were made and find out if all of them are still relevant to our current reality. And when we have done that, we would then go back to the constitutional review implementation process. One of the things I think we should do is, we know the proposed amendments, take the issues that are not controversial, where we can get bipartisan support, and pass those. And then after that, negotiate the other issues that are more complex and controversial, and see how we can forge a consensus around passing those amendments. For me, that I think is the way forward to go. With regards to the Peace Pact, the point our party was making, that is not enough to, with brass band and celebration, gather the whole world, diplomats, traditional leaders, and then as party leaders and presidential candidates will just go and sign a piece of paper that nobody really is committed to implementing. If we sign a peace pact, it must be a serious peace pact, and that everybody who is involved in signing that peace pact is committed to doing the things that will ensure that we have peaceful elections. And that is the point we're making. And so, like my brother Dr. Kwete said, we think that the peace pact should not only be signed by political party leaders and presidential candidates. We are not the only stakeholders and participants and players in the electoral process. There are other key stakeholders who do not sign the pact and therefore are not committed to what we all sign in the pact. The EC is a key player in elections. They must sign the pact and commit to conducting themselves in a free, transparent and fair election in a manner that is not inclined to any one party or any candidate. The IGP is in charge of security. The IGP must sign on behalf of the security services that the security services will act professionally in their conduct on the day before, during and after the election. The Chief Justice, if there are disputes in the election, they are going to come to the courts. We need the Chief Justice, and Madam Kisley, now you can inform her, to sign the peace pact. That the judges will conduct themselves in a way that when disputes arise from the election, they will fairly adjudicate those disputes in order that it does not lead to crisis. Meaningful. It has been the area of our democracy. When you have removed somebody from a position,
May the heavens rescue this land. We need a man with vision to lead. John Mahama is the man for us. Oh Ghana.
essentially continue to follow on that path. The nemesis of our economic progress is the start and stop that we adopt in our economic planning. Lo and behold, 40-year development plan was shunted aside, and some plan called Ghana Beyond Aid, which landed us in the deepest aid debt hole we have ever experienced, was brought to replace it. Recently, I hear that this government is trying to put some long-term development plan in place. We are happy to look at the work they've done, get our people to join and work and see how we can, by consensus, agree across partisan lines a national development plan that all of us will follow, no matter which party comes into office. We're social democrats, they are conservatives. They might want to tweak something or other there, but I think that we must agree on the foundation and the basis of our long-term plan, which we all agree to. And no matter which government comes into office, we'll just continue to measure, have good measurables to be able to see the progress we're making, whether in 40 years or 50 years or whatever the period of the plan should be. The issue of unemployment is a very complex issue. We have a fast-growing population, and so the number of young people is growing very fast. It is determined that more than 65% of our population is under 35. And with the free senior high school, we're having more of our young people pass through secondary school. And many of them are coming out either hoping to go to university, or if they are not able to go to university after senior high school, they are looking for a blue-collar job or a white-collar job or something like that. And so it is a crisis that we're faced with. People say it is something that's advantageous, but at the same time, if your growth is not keeping up with the growth of that segment of your population, then you're sitting on a ticking time bomb. And that is where our problem is. Our growth has been inconsistent because a faster growth of the economy naturally throws up jobs in the job market. And so how do we accelerate our growth so that money is circulating, businesses are being established, and people are getting employment? No artificial job mechanisms will work. NAPCO and all those things, they are palliatives. It's just like putting plaster on the wound. It is not going to cure the wound unless you put medicine on it. And so we must look at the things that will create more jobs in the space. And that's why we've come out with our suggestion, and everybody is entitled to his. And our suggestion is that even with the existing businesses, if we incentivize them to increase production and go beyond the 8-hour working period, even if it's for 16 hours, it will agribusiness, so that we can create the processing capacity to employ more young people. What are the things that we must invest in to create more entrepreneurs amongst our young people? Not everybody who comes out of a school must be destined to be employed by somebody. There are others who could be empowered to become entrepreneurs. And that's why when we were in government, we established the Ghana Exim Bank. It was supposed to assist young businesses to be able to grow. Unfortunately, it's become a trust fund for political apparatchiki instead of being used for what it was supposed to be used for. And so we're going to go back to the basics and see how we can stimulate all these engines in order that we're generating more jobs. How many people can the public sector employ? Not more than, currently I think there are about 900,000 employees in the public sector, out of a population of 33 million. And so naturally, the biggest or the largest capacity for job creation is in the private sector and self-employment. Aside from that, we need to tweak our skill sets because we're producing too many people in the humanities and in management. And so everybody is doing an MBA, everybody is doing marketing, everybody is doing, so there's a saturation of graduates in those sectors. And yet you go and find out there's a deficit of middle-level technicians. People are looking for very skilled technicians. They're looking for very skilled plumbers. They're looking for very skilled welders, and we don't have enough of them. And so how do we tweak our skill sets so that our young people are going into those areas where employment generation is easier than everybody going to do an MBA, everybody going to do business management, everybody going to do marketing, everybody going to do history and all that. And so that is one of the things that we need to look at. And the way we can do it is to increase capacity in vocational and technical training. And so for some of our secondary schools, we must convert into technical and vocational training schools. People can finish JHS and say, look, I want to go into the technical and vocational school because I want to learn a skill, get a certificate, and go into the work. And they should be able to do that. And so those are the reforms that we'll look at. We consult health professionals in appointments to, I didn't really understand the question, to which I did like the Director General of the Ghana Health Service. We should call all health professionals together and ask them, who do you want to be the Director General of the Ghana Health Service? Some of those appointments are the prerogative of the President. He will consult as far as possible in order to get a good person to be there. But you cannot universally consult in order to fill one position or the other. And so what we must look for is people who have merit and people who can bring a change to where you're posting them to, and not just bring people because they are political party affiliates and so on and so forth. You might have a person who can achieve results for you in a particular area. He's not partisan, but the work that he does would be a credit to your political party because it will bring quality and progress into the area. With health professionals, we will always need health professionals. And that is one of the reasons that we were expanding the infrastructure in the healthcare space. By building more CHIPS compounds, by building more polyclinics, by building more hospitals, so that we could create more space for absorbing health professionals as they come out of school. And so once that expansion is taking place, there will be a demand and a need for them. But I have said that even as we're employing health professionals, we must also be taking into consideration where we have an excess of health professionals to see how we can sign agreements with foreign countries, allow them to go on fixed-term migration service, go and work for 4 or 5 years, gain some experience, and come back home. They'll come back home with more experience and come and join the service again. And so helping nurses to improve their qualification and experience to be able to go and work outside for a period of time and come back is something that we will also consider, even as we're doing yearly postings of these professionals as they come out of school. And so that's, I think, is how we'll work on it. My comrade Bampo spoke about equal work for equal pay. This is what we worked on for many years as the universal pay structure, which is the single spine. And after arduous negotiations, we eventually came out with the Ghana Universal Salary Structure, which was famously called the single spine. Since we left office, I hear the single spine no longer exists. The spine is broken because some people have been taking off the spine and their services have been improved, while others have been left marking time. And so what we're trying to achieve by equality in terms of work and pay has been dislodged again. And so you go to some public offices, same proficiency, same qualifications, same skill, but one, because they are a secretary in a certain establishment, and 3 times what their colleague in other establishments earn. It's unfair, it's unjust, and that is what we try to cure by the GUSS. But we will listen to labor, and we will work with you, you are our partners, and see what we can do to come up with a fair remuneration system in the public services. You cannot get complete equality, but at least you can get fairness in terms of how people are remunerated in the public service. And with Reverend Benson, pastors are suffering. And I've always said that our pastors are among the first to notice when the economy is declining. When the economy is declining and the disposable income of your congregation is dwindling, you will see it in the collection bowl. You will see it. The metamorphosis of 10 CD and 5 CD notes and 1 CD notes will be very obvious. And you see a very visible absence of 50s and 100s and 200 notes. Then you know that sometimes you even see coins in the collection bowl. Then you know that the economy is in crisis. And so, like Pastor said, NDC is going to come and work. Our first priority will be to stabilize the macroeconomy and then also stabilize the depreciation of the CD, because the depreciation of the currency has an effect on every other sector of the economy. And so if we're able to do that and we accelerate the growth of our country and we're able to bring in more inward investment, this government has sacked most of the players in the upstream sector. For 8 years, there has been no single addition to our oil and gas production. And yet we're in the transition period for oil and gas. This is the time we should be pumping that oil and gas like crazy, because the transition is happening. We're going into cleaner energy, and a time will come when you have what we call stranded assets. Stranded assets are what will happen when the in the ground, but it's not used. And so we must encourage our partners to increase oil and gas production. We must get the ENIs of this world to come in production. Our electricity more expensive is that we're having to import liquid crude oil to fire some of the thermal plants. A Chabo gas processing plant is the most transformational investment that has been made in this country. After Akosombo, that is the next most transformational plant, that investment that has been made. And thank the memory of our late President, President Jonathan Mills, for that. I came and continued and commissioned it. But that plant is saving us more than $500 million every year, which we would have used to pay for crude oil. And if we're able to increase and bring on a second gas train, Talo has more gas to bring on board. If we get ENI to come back and, also drill and produce more gas, it will bring the cost of electricity down, and it will increase the non-tax revenue that we get. We must invest in the cocoa sector, stop the mismanagement in the cocoa sector. The headquarters of Cocoa Board alone spent 3.4 billion cedis in 1 year. I mean, why? Are you growing the cocoa trees in Cocoa House or what? And meanwhile, the share of the farmer dwindled to its lowest. And so the farmers had no incentive to look after the cocoa farms. And so we should rather change it. The amount spent on headquarters must come down. The amount spent on the farmers must go up, so that they can invest in the farms and make sure that we're able to export and bring more money in. And so we should be able to do all that so that we can grow the economy, and once the economy is growing, more people are having money in their pockets. Reverend Benson, you're going to see that the collections are going to start coming back to normal. My brother Awingobit, and I told him that now that they've been disqualified, they should just come and join us and let us win this election. We are comrades, after all. We are both social democratic parties. You know, I think it was quite unfair, the disqualification of the PNC. And unfortunately, they sought justice from the courts, and again they were denied. But I do think that better luck next time. We'll receive you, we'll invite you, and we'll go on campaign with you. And when we win, you are partners. We'll work together to reset this country and reset Ghana. Comrade Awingobit talked about taxes and a fixed rate. I didn't talk about taxes because this is just the forum on governance. We're going to have a forum on the economy, and under that we're going to talk about taxes. But just to assure you, we have said we are going to introduce a fixed rate policy for a period so that there will be more predictability in how much people are going to pay from when they import their goods till when they clear them. But apart from that, we're going to help people so that they are able to clear their things in good time. And that's why we said that we're going to license some financial institutions to work with government. And so if your container is coming, you know you don't have the money to pay the duty when the container lands. You go into an agreement with these financial institutions. They will pay the duties on your behalf. They will lift your container into their terminal, and they'll give you a period to pay in installments. And once you finish paying, you can take your container. And so we want to do that to ease the pressure on businesses and Auditor General published the assets declaration. I'm not averse to it, but you cannot compel people unlawfully to have their assets published when the law does not make provision for it. And so we'll go through the constitutional review together, and if we all agree that yes, once asset declarations are filed, the Auditor General should publish them, then I think that will be the way to go. So thank you. I think that's the last question. And,
ladies and gentlemen, the next President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama. The applause is not loud enough. Two brilliant hours. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Your Excellency, for giving us the time and spending your evening with us. Thank you to Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. Thank you so much. Thank you to every single person who made the time to show up. We've come to the close of today's Governance Forum on resetting Ghana for good governance and accountability. You have listened to the next President of the Republic of Ghana. He's an entire institution. He doesn't need to call anyone to answer any question for him. He can answer all of it. Please allow us to extend our gratitude to all of you, those who contributed to organizing the event. Thank you so much. If we didn't take your question, forgive us. There will be another forum, your question will be asked. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your engagement. Thank you for your questions. We've had a lot of inspiring initiatives, very insightful analysis from our flag bearer, and actionable plans. His vision for Ghana is indeed one to move all of us from the present stagnation that we are experiencing to a prosperous and progressive Ghana. As we leave here today, please carry with you the momentum that he has started. Remember, we have 37 days until the critical decision is made. You want to make a decision that moves you into progress. Resetting Ghana is not just an idea, it's a movement. Right.
And may the heavens rescue this land.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Thank you. Our next forum will be on human development. Travel safely, all of you. Thank you for coming. My name is Nuong Falong, and it was such an honor to host all of you this evening. Good evening. If you kindly be seated as His Excellency exits. Please be seated as His Excellency exits. Thank you, Isoba. His Excellency.
Oh, Ghana needs a change.